Welcome to Analytics Nexus 2019, the premier virtual event for analytics best practices. This presentation is titled Building a Badass Digital Analytics Technology COE, and will be presented by Ed Hewett. This is just one webinar in a whole series of presentations you have access to beginning today. Just a few quick housekeeping items before I introduce this presentation. At any time, you can interact with Ed or the other presenters with questions or comments on Slack. The Slack address for Analytics Nexus is analyticsnexus.slack.com, and you should have received an email invitation to join if you registered in advance. If you didn't receive that email, you can find an invitation link to the Slack in the menu below. And once you're logged into our Slack, you can find the channel for Ed Hewett. Also, you can engage with us on Twitter. The Twitter handle is @analytics_nexus. And finally, if you have any questions on the event, Analytics Nexus, or Claravine, who is producing this event, feel free to email us at info@claravine.com. This session will be presented by Ed Hewett. Ed is the Director of Digital and Marketing Analytics Technology at Hilton. In his current role, Ed leads a team with responsibility for the discovery, implementation, maintenance, governance, administration, and value realization of Hilton's digital and marketing analytics tool stack. Ed has spent the last 18 years, including 8 years at Adobe, working in marketing and analytics technology. Without further ado, I'll turn it over to Ed.
Thank you for joining this session, where we're going to spend time discussing strategies you can use to build out a badass digital analytics technology center of excellence. Hi, I'm Ed Hewett, and I've been building a rocking team here at Hilton that's focused on driving digital business optimizations through strategic and tactical delivery of best-in-class digital and marketing analytics technology. I'm thrilled to have this conversation with you today. Before we get started, I'd like to share a couple things that make Hilton great and why I love working here. If you're familiar with the brand, you'll know Hilton continues to provide exceptional guest experiences worldwide with a growing portfolio of over 5,000 properties. We've also been working really hard to incorporate digital experiences into the customer journey. In the last year, Hilton has made great strides with that integration, rolling out over 1,800 connected rooms, growing digital room key use to 7.6 million downloads, and launching a new website. If you're not familiar with our property experience, you can use your phone to check in and access your room. For our connected room properties, you can also control in-room experiences like lighting and entertainment from your mobile device. That creates an interesting tension between physical and digital experiences, and it's one of the reasons why I love working at Hilton. We have such an exciting opportunity to bring those two worlds together through great technologies. Also, in case you're looking for your next position, Hilton has recently been recognized as the #1 best company to work for in the U.S. by Great Place to Work and Fortune magazine. We are the first hospitality company to reach the #1 ranking in the list's 21-year history. If you're attending this session, you're likely grappling with problems common to digital analytics technology teams. Some of your challenges may include low user adoption of capabilities that your team is supporting, increasing error rates during delivery combined with change management issues, demand going through the roof, and difficulty building and retaining a strong technical team in a competitive talent market. In spite of those substantial obstacles, you're probably also interested in driving opportunities like increasing the technology value that your team is supporting, up-leveling your team's technical skills and credibility, improving the delivery efficiency of your team in both cost and time, leveraging your own technology stack to drive strategic business growth, and potentially evolving your team's mandate. Great opportunities and big challenges certainly make for an exciting space to be working in. So how do you overcome the challenges and address the opportunities? I think it's a little bit like a pre-legend rock band. I happen to really like Bon Jovi. I know that makes me pretty old school, but when I think of a rock star band, Bon Jovi is definitely at the top of my list. But before Bon Jovi, there was Atlantic City Expressway. Bon Jovi didn't emerge until the pre-legend rock band took the good things they were doing and refined them until they became great. If you're trying to build out a center of excellence, you're already doing a lot of things right, or you wouldn't be listening today. You just need to magnify the good things you're already doing by adding a few simple strategies, one at a time, to become great. So let's talk about some ideas I have that will help you move your team from the garage out onto center stage. You probably feel like your team is a little bit different than all the other teams around you, right? And it is. Your team is part analytics, part development, and part marketing technology. You're responsible for both tactical delivery and strategic projects. You may feel like no one else has been in a similar situation as you. But the fortunate thing is, actually there's a lot of adjacent organizations within your company that have experienced and solved some of the difficulties that you're faced with. Take a look at your business partners, the product organization, development, marketing, and see how they're addressing similar obstacles that you have within your digital analytics technology practice. Learn from the excellence of the teams around you. Their close proximity will make it easier to learn and leverage. So I think the real learning here is that there are teams within your organization that have already overcome a lot of the challenges you're facing. It's time to steal their strategies and rock their world. I love this picture. It's a great illustration of the negotiation that has to happen between product organizations, development organizations, and marketing to get to a place where the absolute best experience is delivered to the customer. You'll notice that even with all the chaos, the plane is still flying instead of lying in pieces on the ground. Product roadmaps are a primary tool for driving successful negotiation and course setting. One of the first strategies I deployed at Hilton was to build a roadmap to facilitate conversations that were required to uplevel our business processes, our approach to digital analytics technology, and ultimately the value we were able to realize from the technology stack my team was supporting. Now, a roadmap might sound scary if you've never built one before, but don't be intimidated. We're not talking about an exhaustive 5-year plan. Face it, the landscape will be significantly different 2 years from now. Create a long-term vision, but limit your roadmap to 12 rolling months. Create a roadmap and create a strong vision through that roadmap. That then becomes a key tool you can use to drive strategic direction, first with your team, then with your leadership, and ultimately with adjacent leaders as you accelerate the value of your technology practice. I should also mention that great project and task prioritization along with pre- and post-release communications will augment the value of your roadmap, creating conversations that improve the focus, alignment, and steering over the technologies that you're supporting. Another thing you'll see great product organizations do is to focus exceptional delivery to specific user personas. Several years ago, I looked at the types of experiences that top companies were introducing. It was clear they had taken the time to understand what the right experience was for the content and the user. None of the companies I looked at were attempting to drive browser experiences with tremendous breadth onto the small mobile devices. And that's because that's not really the optimal form factor. It's not really the optimal experience for the breadth of content. What I tend to see in the analytics space is teams working to build and maintain tools providing a wide range of analysis and reporting capabilities. But it's not always clear who the right users for those capabilities are. It's not always clear which capabilities should be presented to which users. And it's not always clear which tools drive the best results. Product organizations put a lot of thought into delivering optimal and relevant user experiences to their target user personas. That's a methodology you can leverage as you're building out your technology practice. When you're building, licensing, and enhancing new capabilities, you really should be asking, who am I delivering this for? Why am I delivering it for them? Is this the right form factor? And is this the right experience for these users? My team has a number of analytics technologies we're responsible to support. To help us deliver the optimal analytics experience, we use a matrix to determine what technology is right for what type of internal user. We've built this breakdown by persona for the type of technology experience our internal users should receive. This makes it a lot easier when new users come to us requesting access to tools, capabilities, and training, because we do a better job of routing them to the right experience. As a result, our internal users have a better experience, stay engaged, and ultimately drive more value for the company. This approach doesn't just apply to self-service analytics capabilities, although that would be a great start. You can apply persona models to any service you're delivering to partners, indirect users, or consumers of the digital experiences delivered by your company. Also, it probably goes without saying, but you should be analyzing data about the use of the capabilities your team supports, so that you can fine-tune your approach. As adjacent teams become more agile, and by agile I mean both big A agile and little a agile, you'll notice that their release cycles accelerate. This has been true in the app space for quite some time, and you'll probably have noticed your web teams are also releasing changes more frequently. Without weekly or more often releases, it's easy for partners to get frustrated by the pace of change and develop the perception that it's impossible to make improvements or fixes to the analytics architecture. My team has maintained a weekly release schedule for well over 2 years, and it's made a tremendous difference in the speed of our analytics technology evolution. This picture of Raleigh Free embodies the idea of weekly releases for me. He blasted through the world record for unstreamlined and unsupercharged bikes at the Bonneville Salt Flats back in 1948 in Utah. What I find interesting about his experience was that he didn't start out trying to break the land speed record in his swimsuit. He started out with a seat on his bike and full leathers. But as he started running time trials, he wasn't achieving the top speed that he wanted. So first he laid down on the bike. Then he removed the seat. Then he removed his leathers to reduce wind resistance. Ultimately, he ended up becoming a bathing suit biker so he could create the most streamlined experience. As a result of all of these iterative changes, he shattered the land speed record and simultaneously created an iconic image that has far outlasted his speed record. The reality is, if you want to go fast, you've got to streamline through iterative, weekly, or more frequent releases. Having a short release cycle cadence can be a real driver for positive changes within your team. It will drive significant improvements to your product. It will force a different way of thinking about how changes are made, and it will alter the way partners view the support you're providing. When partners understand they don't have to wait months to get changes implemented, they won't try and force you into delivering a perfect solution up front. Getting the perfect solution on the first pass is significantly more difficult than introducing a minimum viable product and quickly iterating to reach the optimal solution. I should also mention that alongside weekly releases, you should provide release previews and manifests and release notes to support improved change management. Otherwise, you may offset some of the gains from accelerated releases with an increase in change management issues. My team recently adopted a standard development practice of using code reviews to drive people, process, and tool improvements. It's a stupid, simple thing to change, but I can tell you it's driving a tremendous amount of improvement for my team. Last year, we upgraded our tag management system, and what I found after having to come in on multiple holidays to fix errors that had been released into production was that our technology had evolved. We were now using a new system, but our underlying architectural and development approach had failed to evolve. We weren't using the capabilities of the new system. Had we been performing code reviews all along, it would have helped us optimize our approach far sooner than we did. We would have avoided errors, tech debt, and bloat, inefficient architecture, as well as code. Some of you out there are sitting there saying, yes, we've been doing this for a long time. I love it. It's great. Pat yourself on the back and then go buy a gold guitar pick. For those of you who aren't doing code review, you should definitely start today. You might be concerned code reviews will actually increase delivery times for your team, since it adds another step in your release process, one that requires time from multiple technical resources on your team. What I can tell you from my experience is that code reviews actually decrease our delivery times, because while we are spending more time in code review, we're spending a lot less time in total development because we've driven efficiencies into our code, reduced time-consuming errors, and raised the expertise of the whole team in the process. Obviously, there's a lot of other benefits from doing code reviews, but if you're a technology team focused on digital analytics, you may not necessarily have code reviews in your DNA because you didn't come straight from a development organization. However, because development teams have evolved their practice over time, there really are many approaches that you can steal to help make great technical teams, and code reviews definitely top that list. Along with adding code reviews, be sure to actively cultivate an environment where it's safe to give and receive feedback so that you extract full value out of code review conversations. Marketing is my favorite organization to watch for creative ideas I can adapt for my team. I love to ask, what are great marketing organizations doing? How can I incorporate their tactics and creativity? One thing great marketers do is intentionally build a strong image for their product. Their work creating an identifiable brand becomes a platform they can build conversations on. This picture of my daughter was taken several years ago when we captured her doing something she loved. Watching her that day created a lasting image in my mind of a mud fairy who thrives in immersive experiences, isn't afraid to get dirty, and loves to play and be silly. Creating powerful images that tell stories is what great marketers do to drive long and lasting impressions and create opportunities for dialogue. How can you leverage that as a digital analytics technology team? Well, guess what? Your team should have an identity. Your team should have a brand that's recognizable throughout the organization. If people don't understand what you do, it's because you are not doing a good job of marketing to them. While not every organization within your company needs to know about you and your team, there are key groups and leaders that should have a clear sense of what you do and why you're doing it. Sometimes we feel like marketers get to have all the fun. Well, this is a chance for you to think like a marketer and leverage your creative talents that maybe don't get to come out and play very often. Spend the time thinking about your team and how you're messaging and being perceived. Spend time to clarify your team identity and work to share that identity to the broader organization. Over time, you'll generate a lot of mileage out of those efforts and conversations, provided you also deliver. While our team identity is something I'm continuing to build, at Hilton, one of the things my team is known for is that we can be relied on to deliver results. That means we get looped into strategic projects that we wouldn't have otherwise. Again, this is an area that, when you have so many urgent tasks and competing strategic priorities, it can be easy to skip. But you'll drive so much growth for your team by taking the roadmap we talked about earlier, coupling that with a strong brand and team identity, and then socializing it with key teams and leaders within your company. And if you're uncertain where to start after clarifying your identity with your own team and leadership, start with the key MarTech capability owners at your company. Work with the teams and leaders responsible for digital analytics, audiences, orchestration, optimization, and marketing technology. Another tactic that great marketers use is that they lead their target. When you look at marketing, a significant portion of those efforts are upper funnel activities. The brand images that marketers are working to project are often looking at where they want their customers to be in 6 months or a year. They may be trying to create awareness or perception that can be realized much later. And so, when you look at how you can leverage digital analytics technologies, there's a real opportunity to not just look at what stakeholders and partners are asking you for today, lower funnel, but to look down the road and think about what they'll be asking you for in 6 months or a year, upper funnel. If you don't take that long view in terms of what you're trying to deliver, you'll always end up in a reactive mode where you're trying to catch up with your partners, and then you're not delivering the capabilities they need today. Well, the reality is the capabilities they need today, you probably should have built 6 months or a year ago. To truly optimize the performance of your team, you have to begin balancing delivery to current demand with efforts to build towards the future. I love playing soccer because of the lightning fast reversals that can happen when players lead their target effectively. In the picture, Messi's teammate effectively led his target by making a great pass into open space. The fast reversal from Messi's header astonished the goalkeeper and resulted in the goal. By leading your target, creating capabilities that your partners will need, you change the conversation around your technology and create lightning-fast transitions that drive significant incremental performance. It may feel awkward at first to plan for something that isn't there yet, but that's okay. The first few passes into open space feel that way too. Take the time to think about technologies and capabilities that you can build now that will be valuable in the future. Identification of key technologies and capabilities which will be required in the future, and then building them before customers ask, is a strategy that's helping drive my team's success. We've done that with our self-service analytics approach, digital analytics, customer tooling, and digital data management platforms. If you think about it, this is not just something great marketers do. Great product managers do it too. They're not building what the customers are asking for. They're building towards both customer pain points and future needs, which requires intuition and planning. Now, it's possible you might actually have the opposite problem. Working in a technology discipline for a non-technology company can also be frustratingly slow. You've been primed for rapid change by the technologies you work with, but not all organizations move at the speed of messy. Some companies look a lot more like an alligator sunning on the shore and have to be enticed or irritated into moving. Be sure to calibrate the speed of evolution at your company so you don't deliver capabilities too early. As demand for technology organizations increases, you may find yourself taking on more and more responsibilities. Be intentional with how you're evolving your approach and your org chart. One thing that is easy for people to fall into, and I've been in this trap myself, is to become all the roles within your org chart. If you're the team lead and you're supporting stakeholder relationships and you're doing vendor management and supporting tool administration and training and providing tier 1 support, creating the architecture, planning and project management, acting as a developer, analyzing all those results, and then making recommendations back to yourself so you can then go back and implement, it can become very exhausting. And so one of the challenges that you're faced with is to be very thoughtful and intentional about how you choose to grow your team. When you look at management functions within other teams, they often put a tremendous amount of planning and forethought into what the right roles for the team are, what the right levels of those roles, what the right number of people for those roles are, and whether their team should do specific activities or whether those activities should be transferred to other organizations. I encourage you to take the same thoughtful approach as you begin to grow out your technology team and as the demands and the capabilities continue to evolve. There's a real opportunity for you to improve not just the way you're delivering, not just the capabilities you're delivering, but the team that's doing the delivery. From my own experience, building a team and evolving that team is one of the most satisfying things that I've done in my career. As you begin to intentionally evolve your org, there are a couple tactics that you should consider using, but carefully. Working long hours. With an under-resourced team, you may choose to cover staffing gaps by working 50, 60, or 70-hour weeks. That might be what's required to address opportunities now, but can be difficult to scale back from once the organization has become accustomed to a certain level of performance which aligns to a current level of staffing. On the opposite side, sometimes you may need to let things break a little from a tactical delivery perspective. One time I asked a senior leader why a key gap wasn't being filled, and the response was, the team continues to deliver in spite of the gap. That type of response may be a signal it's time to let a few things break if the team has been running persistently over capacity, since externalizing pain can help motivate others to step in and support intentionally evolving the org. Just remember that after breaking things, you'll still be left with putting them back together. It will also cause you to take on some authentic battle damage. Hopefully your brand has been built strong enough to be able to recover from a few setbacks. One final tip before we move on. As you look at your org chart and as you evolve it, you should be asking if you have or should be including some amount of demand-based staffing in your plan. I had an experience where I built out the perfect org chart. Of course, it wasn't really perfect, but I had built out an org chart that was suitable to address the challenges we were facing right then. 6 months later, things started to fall apart again because I didn't account for the fact that demand continued to grow. If you don't account for that growth of demand, which will likely be faster in digital than the rest of the business, you might miss an opportunity to fix the resourcing approach longer term. One thing I've noticed as I've evolved my team is the importance of driving and improving vendor relationships. Oftentimes, the real work begins once a deal is closed and contracts are finalized, and that real work is really the effort of building relationships with people who can help you increase the tool value that you're delivering. If you look at the key vendor organizational departments you're going to be interfacing with, it's probably going to look a lot like the departments we've been talking about today: product, development, marketing, services, leadership, and management. These teams within the vendor partner are vitally important to the success of the tool at your company. We might think that software as a service means the people behind the software may not be as important, but I can tell you that's absolutely not true. If you'll engage with the key vendors and with the key people within those companies, you'll increase the value of the tools, you'll increase the quality of the service, and you'll increase the ability you have to deliver on the priority requirements and requests from your internal partners. If you're not spending time developing relationships and maintaining relationships with people at the key vendor organizations you're contracting with, you're really missing out. Several months ago, my team deployed a technology that was being supported by a vendor tool. When we deployed it, we didn't receive the customer response we were hoping for. And as we started to look at the data and the experience, it became apparent there were some opportunities to work with the vendor to adjust their approach. As we did that, over the course of a month testing and improving, we were able to make a number of small changes that lifted our key metrics. But ultimately, the biggest driver of the improved metrics we were seeing ended up being a product-level feature change the vendor implemented based on our recommendation. After implementing that one product-level feature, we saw our metrics double. If we hadn't properly collaborated with our vendor in optimizing their solution, we would have missed out on driving a real business improvement. As you look at the key tools and vendors you're partnering with, identify and cultivate the relationships and people who can partner with you long-term to drive success using their capabilities and to drive business results for your organization. As your team becomes more successful and demand increases, it can be easy to maintain strong tactical delivery while strategic projects are slowly deprioritized. Your team shouldn't be the sole beneficiary of most capabilities you're supporting. However, retaining responsibility for a few strategic projects will allow you to maintain a stream of case studies and proof points you can use to drive expanded value realization of the capabilities you're providing to other teams. This may be easiest if you maintain ownership of a small vertical slice of the end-to-end experience. For my team, that means we take responsibility for optimizing the functional tags delivered through our tag management system. My favorite runner of all time was actually the second person to break the 4-minute mile. What I love about John Landy is that he was highly competitive, but maintained his ability to deliver in spite of challenges. John is remembered for his performance in the 1,500-meter race at the 1956 Australian National Championships prior to the Melbourne Olympic Games. Ron Clark, another competitor, fell after clipping another runner's heel. John jumped over him, but his spikes cut Ron in the process. I absolutely love what he did next. John turned back and apologized, but then he took off, caught the rest of the field, and then won the race. I love to think about that story in terms of the responsibility of technical teams to deliver strategic wins. Your team will make mistakes. Your team will have to pivot. When those things occur, it's not enough to simply focus on finishing. You still need to finish. That's delivery. And win. That's strategic projects. That's the mindset which will create an expanding set of great challenges for you and your team. Please don't get bogged down in the tactical day-to-day delivery and forget about all the strategic wins. Keep some of those. Make sure there are clear wins you can bring back to the business. And that will give you great opportunities to build out your practice, continue to evolve, and to drive the value of technologies and tools you're delivering. One tactic I use to preserve bandwidth for strategic project work is to block off one day in my calendar every week where I don't accept meetings. I work from home that day and focus on projects that are connected to strategic business value. It also helps fight the frustration of seeing analysis delivered to partners who then don't leverage it to influence business results. If you'll maintain that small vertical slice of end-to-end delivery, regardless of what your partners do, you have control over your ability to deliver business results. As we all know, maintaining a great high-performing technology team in the current environment can be challenging. However, if you'll continue to invest in your team and keep it fun, it will enhance your team's results. I use a train, collaborate, and play approach for my team. Your experienced technical resources are highly valuable, and you need to treat them like they are. Train. Training is a structured part of my team, which is saying something because I'm not the most structured leader out there. Here's a few specific tactics I use. Monthly performance conversations. I do this with my team members, and I don't let these go to a yearly basis. They're much easier to do monthly, and it will help you create an atmosphere of feedback, which you absolutely want. Weekly motivational messages as part of regularly scheduled team meetings, and annual attendance at user conferences with your team. Collaborate. I make it a point to work on key projects with my team. That keeps me in touch with the delivery side of the equation while demonstrating to my team that they are important. It also helps increase the overall knowledge of the team. We also do weekly problem-solving jam sessions oriented at group problem-solving for challenges encountered by the team. Play. This is the part I love. On the screen, you'll see a t-shirt that was developed as a result of a major initiative that we completed. We do lots of things to play in addition to t-shirts. We do fun activities like racing electric go-karts, axe throwing, and bowling. We bring food to our team meetings. Now, these activities might not be the right approach for your team. The specific activity is less important, but I found playing as a team helps foster the type of environment technical teams thrive in. From a tips perspective, given the competitive atmosphere that we're in for finding and retaining technical talent, you should really be looking at how you can fully utilize and optimize the team you have right now. You should be training, collaborating, and creating a fun atmosphere with the people that are on your team. That doesn't mean you shouldn't work to evolve. That doesn't mean you shouldn't work to get better. But use the team you have right now. Finally, I just wanted to share this summary of some of the points we've gone over as a takeaway. If I had to pick the 4 strategies that have made the most impact as I've evolved technology teams, it would be the following: establishing and following a roadmap, providing weekly releases, delivering against strategic wins, and taking the time to invest in your team. For me, all of these tactics have produced high value over the long term. I hope you found this information enjoyable and learned something from today's conversation. Please reach out to me over the Analytics Nexus Slack channel or LinkedIn to share your thoughts on effective strategies for evolving digital analytics technology teams. I know we've covered a lot of ground here today. I recommend implementing one action only right now. Once you've successfully delivered on that, find another strategy that you can add. If you'll repeat that process over the course of 6 months or a year, you'll find that your team will have grown substantially. Thank you for joining today's conversation, and good luck building your digital analytics technology team into rock stars.